right, and we're back. We just finished Marshall first, the Black Associate Justice of the Supreme Court. So these are huge accomplishments for Johnson and his civil rights movements. Well, speaking of civil rights, probably the best known person with the civil rights is Martin Luther King Jr. And many people are going to pick up where Martin Luther King leaves off. Many people are continue to follow his legacy and what he has established, but some people are going to go more radical. In fact, one of those people is Malcolm X. It's known as Malcolm X, and he believed that Martin Luther King was too lenient, or he was not as active, and he was too slow in the civil rights movement. So Malcolm X took things to the bigger extreme. He believed in this black power that the African American community should rise up and show their power and show their strength, and that there should be this segregation of races. Whereas Martin Luther King was saying, no, I have a dream where my kids are normal like everyone else in America, that the person is judged according to what they know, what they can do, and not what they look like. That was King's mentality. Whereas Malcolm X is saying, no, we are going to rise to supremacy. So he kind of takes it to the extreme. He takes racism kind of opposite of what we think of as racism. So Malcolm X will later be assassinated. He'll be murdered. He'll be killed, which he'll be raised as a martyr for being killed for his legacy. But speaking of dying for their cause, Martin Luther King Jr. will die as well. Memphis, Tennessee, he's at this teaching. This riot breaks out. In this chaos, a person will come in and shoot Martin Luther King, and he will die in Tennessee. But he'll be raised as a martyr for his cause. Now, the big black mark on Johnson's presidency was the Vietnam War, mainly because of how everything went down. Because you had North Vietnam, South Vietnam. The North Vietnamese were supplied by the communists and the Russians. Their leader, Ho Chi Minh, was in very close ties with the Soviets, the Russians, the communists, really creators of communism. And the next country to be communist was China. So these two major world countries are now supplying these other leaders in different countries to revolt and to spread communism. So Ho Chi Minh is one of them, and the communists, the Soviets, and the Chinese, the Red Chinese specifically, or the Communist Chinese, and they are in full support of Ho Chi Minh. Why? Because if you see the map on 357, you'll see the countries right next to Vietnam. Vietnam's a very long country. In fact, if you don't have your book, I'll show you. Vietnam is a very long country. Let's see if I can pull up the big screen. There we go. Vietnam is a long country. Right next to Vietnam, you'll see Cambodia. Right next to Cambodia, you have Thailand, you have Laos as well. Now, going back to our notes, you will see the second point, actually third point, was the domino theory. So the domino theory is if we can get Vietnam to crumble under communism, then just like if you hit one domino to hit another domino, to hit another domino, to hit another domino, that's the idea. If South Vietnam falls, then we can get Cambodia. If Cambodia falls, then we can get Laos. If Laos falls, then we'll eventually get Thailand. So this domino effect is if we can get one, then the others will quickly fall behind. The communists knew it, and America knew it as well. So Johnson sends over these troops, specifically to South America, to help defend South America against communism, not to drive out the communists of North Korea, not to defeat Ho Chi Minh, but just to stop him from aggressing. Now the problem is Ho Chi Minh can't do it on his own, but he's being supplied. Now you have to supply. If you're playing this defense, you got to bring more supplies to the table than the other guy does. Well, America is going through this torn time of why are we getting involved? What are we doing in Vietnam? And especially many Americans are saying, why are we over there in a war that doesn't have anything to do with us? The reason why was communism. But then you have other people are saying, listen, if we're going to fight communism, let's stop playing this defensive game. Let's attack them. Let's go for the kill. Let's drive them out. Let's stop playing defense. Let's go offense. Well, many people are saying which is which. Well, we had this policy of protecting these third world countries from communism. This is where we get the word third world is when we start to see this term being thrown around by a bunch of the congressmen. And it just refers to the poor nations of the world, and one of those was Vietnam. So the Vietnamese are going to go through this vicious. You can think of it like a civil war, North against the South. Um, and those that join the communists are called the Viet Cong. So the issue was the Viet Cong did not play a very nice war. In fact, you can read um, testimonies of the Viet Cong actually strapping explosives to children, sending the children toward the troops. The troops had no idea, and these are the suicide bombers. So it kind of sounds like things we hear today, but it was going on way back in the Vietnam War. And like we said, the congressman had no means of or no idea of winning, just containing, which was very, very bad. And Congress was not giving the supplies that they needed to. It really goes downhill whenever the Vietnamese, the Viet Cong, attack in what's known as the Tet Offensive. And they really make this big push into South Korea, so much so that the American troops and the Vietnamese are not able to hold them. We keep backing up all the way to Saigon. Now, we'll eventually read Saigon Falls, but it doesn't fall until 1973 when the war is done. So it does not sound good in Vietnam. Many people are against it. A lot of riots back in America, get us out of the war. Many people just said, I'm not going to go fight at all. Now, this is one of the last times that we see the draft used, and it was used to get the needed men to the front lines. Well, many people are going to say, no, I don't believe in it, or no, I don't want to go fight. So they're going to run to either Canada or European countries to get out of the draft to not go fight. But one of the guys that really earns his title in the Vietnam War was Chappie James. He becomes the first black man to achieve the rank of a 4-star general in the Army, which is huge. He proves himself in battle, in combat, and in leadership. And this is really Martin Luther King's dream, that a person is based on their character, not their color. So Chappie James earns that title. We'll pick up with the rest of the chapter in our next video, so I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.